Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another CxO show with me, Anza Saqib. Hope you're doing well. CxO Forum is a knowledge sharing platform for all C levels across the globe. We take massive pride in contributing to the knowledge economy with our league of extraordinary thought leaders. They're not just the domain experts, but those industry professionals that have made a considerable amount of difference in policies, in frameworks of the field that they work in. Today as well, we've got a very special lady with us, highly accomplished Alia Zafar. She's currently the Group Head People and Organizational Excellence at Bank of Punjab, BOP. She's also a senior mentor with USAID responsible towards trades activity in Myanmar. And very interesting, the ex-member Board of Governors, PCB, the Pakistan Cricket Board. So welcome to the show, Alia. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me here. Thanks a lot. And it's a pleasure to
So
be here.
appreciate your time. A lot of times, Alia, we hear that whenever a woman in Pakistan, especially, is so accomplished in the corporate circles, we do hear that there seems to be a bit of a struggle in the journey. Did you see struggle in your journey? Where did the journey begin, and how did you end up here?
It's a very good question, and I think the struggle is always there. My journey began with civil services. So, my journey, I think, if I compare it with some of the other women around me, some of the really resilient women around me, I think my journey was still easier. But you see, every person goes through their own milestones. I started my service with the Pakistan Civil Services. Of course, getting into civil services is
Yeah,
not an easy thing to do. Um, and I was fortunate and lucky enough to be selected, and I worked there for quite some time. So for me, the baseline was certainly at a higher level. So I didn't have to go through the baseline grind, which normally I do see a lot of my colleagues going through who are joining any of the industries at the baseline level where they don't seem to have a lot of empowerment either, whereas civil service positions are already extremely empowered positions. So I did have that extra space with the choice of career I suppose I made at that time, and also being able to get into, it's like a gate and you have to enter, and the entrance requirements are quite tough. And yet I do think that every person everywhere, and especially women in Pakistan, they do come across and they face a lot of challenges, and these challenges do not necessarily come only in a very structured form. There are systemic biases
yeah,
towards women. There are systemic challenges to progress within the structures that we actually are working in. So you have to break a lot of barriers wherever you are. But I do think that it's a very doable thing still. We just need to understand our own power and our own capacity for growth, and hopefully that will bring all of us into a journey which is more rewarding at the end of the day.
sounds wonderful, and what profound words indeed. Um, let's talk about your role at Bank of Punjab. You know, we no longer have roles like group head of people, group head HR, but more like group head people and
Yeah.
organizations, right? What does this title entail on a day-to-day basis? Like, what do you do on a day-to-day basis as a leader?
Right. So it's interesting because you see, HR has been going through a lot of transformation. So has the world. So we tend to live in a world which is hit by uncertainty at all times now, and the speed of uncertainty and the speed of change is accelerating as we speak. So it's really phenomenal, and the age that we are living in terms of its capacity to assimilate change is also, I think, phenomenal. So once you start understanding that, you also understand that people are at the heart and the core of every business. And until and unless we take an approach towards people which is not the traditional operational approach towards people as numbers, but people as human beings, having the empathy towards them. Um, we can't really change anything around us. So the concept of working within the people and organizational excellence group, or what normally would be called HR, is looking at transformational work, which is strategic in its nature, which is also path breaking, which is creating new pathways within my own industry and within our own span within the Pakistani industries at various levels. We are trying to create new ways to work, be more effective, be more efficient, and be more productive, but always be more empathetic, more diverse, and more inclusive.
Brilliant. Those words, a lot of corporate organizations those words in their affairs. But let's talk about this. I mean, I love the piece that you mentioned about being more effective and productive. Let's talk about sustainability. Now, in the post chat GPT era, a lot of employees fear for their jobs. What am I going to do in the future? For example, let's take content writers, marketing, digital strategists, by currently. And how safe those jobs?
I'm losing your voice there. I'm sorry, Asna, Anza. I can't really hear you very
Yeah,
well. So
hear
if you
me
can
now?
just repeat. Yeah, I can hear you. So just the last part of your question, please.
I said, how safe will jobs be? How secure will jobs be in the future with the advent of AI? And what do the mid-career professionals of today need to do, or the skills that they need to acquire to make themselves future ready?
Okay, so I think first construct that jobs need to be steady and need to be stable in itself is, I think, a bit of a challenge towards our own selves. So I've changed multiple jobs. I left civil service, which nobody seems to do, although
Yeah,
some of my beige batchmates have done. So the point I want to make is that we need to first of all have the skills which are available within us and which are required in the market. So whatever we do, we need to first understand what we are bringing to the table. Is it something which links with us as persons, as somebody who is passionate about it, and is it something which is sellable as well at the same time, and is can we put a price to it? So it's like having any other product, you become a product as well. Now, your skill and your sellability does not require stability. It
yeah,
requires that you are able to take on new roles, new challenges, new risks, because when you do that, you actually are upgrading and upskilling yourself at the same time. Gone are the days when you would stay in one organization for 30 years
yeah. Like we used to
because
hear from grandparents and parents.
so the idea of loyalty has changed, but I think within Pakistan, what's unfortunate in terms of productivity is how we actually view jobs. We are looking at stability first and foremost, whereas we should be looking at what we are bringing to the table. What are the skills that we have? How do we upskill? How much of our time in a day, in a month, and in a year are we spending on self development? And is it self development which is being paid for just by the organization, or are you actually investing in yourself also? Are you actually putting aside some kind of budget for yourself even? So I don't really buy into the concept of stability. Yes, the market is not stable. The country is not stable, unfortunately, right now, economically. The world is not stable. But within that instability, you have a lot more choices, you have a lot more opportunity. So you need to look at the diversity coming towards you and the adversity that you are facing as opportunity, and upskill yourself, upgrade your talent, your skills, and see how marketable you can become. So we need to get out
Right.
of this of of being insecure about our own selves.
Got it. Pertinent points made indeed. Let's move on a little towards the fact that these days, post COVID in particular, we've seen a lot of a cultural shift in the way the workplace is now. So let's talk about, new concepts like flexible working hours and, you know, focusing on KPIs rather than focusing on the number of hours that you put in, um, working from home, etc. Um, Post COVID, we saw that all these things were being implemented. Now that we've recovered from that era, and I see that a lot of offices expect people to come back to the workplace and start working in person. Do you think that this has created a sort of a resentment in the workforce now because they're used to a certain environment, especially millennials and Gen Z?
All right. So across the world, I think globally there have been a number of surveys done on this, and some of the people want to come back, some don't want to come back. They don't want to go back to the old ways of working. Now we need to understand how the industries in Pakistan are reacting to it. Not all the industries are actually reacting the way the world is reacting. For example, if you go to Europe and to UK, a number of organizations are permanently based on a post-COVID structure where it's very fluid working space, and Pakistani industries are going back to the previous ways of working because we tend to be more traditional in our approach towards work. And yes, you would have resentment, but then instead of being resentful, it's always good to switch jobs to positions where you would have still that capacity to have that flexibility within your work environment, because there are organizations which are providing flexibility of workplace. For example, at BOP, we do provide flexible working hours. We do have work from home going on for certain segments. So if a bank can do it, all the other industries can definitely do it. It's just how you approach this whole area of work and productivity, actually.
Right, absolutely, that makes sense. What about productivity? Have you noticed that people are more productive when they're engaged in remote work? Or like you said, because of our cultural nuances, people only put in their 100% when they're sitting in a physical office.
It will all depend, you see, on how anyone's work ethics are evolved. Work ethics in Pakistan have evolved, I think, to some extent. So, in some organizations, you can see that if the defined KPIs and outcomes are well defined and there is a supervisory role being played effectively, the productivity does increase. However, there is always a caveat to these things, because at times it can also be at the expense of the health and well-being of the employees who are working from home, because they tend to lose the line between the office and work, and that can be extremely unhealthy as well. So in everything that we do, we need to understand how and why we are doing and what we are doing and how we actually maintain that balance from both sides. So if I'm working from home, I should be working from home. It's not a leave. It's really, you have your KPIs and you have your outcomes and outputs that you need to deliver, and these are structured. And when they are structured, there's no way that you can just sit at home and not work. So it really depends on
Right.
how progressively the organization has been approaching all this area of work and productivity.
Makes sense. So let's now move on a little bit towards your personal journey in your profession. What has been your single biggest motivator throughout this journey?
Myself.
Rather, who?
Me.
Yourself?
Yes, I motivate myself always. You have to self
Brilliant.
motivate. It can't be anyone else motivating you. Okay, what if that person or that organization or that entity vanishes tomorrow? Then you're dead. No, you have to motivate yourself, of course. No one
Alia, you
else.
realize you're saying this? Valentine's Day, right? So on a lighter note, you realize you're saying this on Valentine's Day, right?
Ah, oh yes. Okay. Yeah, but again for Valentine, also I would say one thing in partnerships or in relationships, you have to love yourself first, and only then you can actually love somebody else.
Right. Um, so, what is that one thing about you that we cannot figure out from your LinkedIn profile?
Everything.
One interesting fact.
Quite a few actually. You can't really figure out from LinkedIn. LinkedIn is very professional. It doesn't present the person. It presents only the positions a person may have held and their professional capacity and skills. It does not define a person. So I don't think jobs define people in any case. Generally, some elements are there which relate to your jobs, but I have too many things which can be defined as me, so I can't really go into a list of it. But then it's for you to discover, Anza. You have to meet me more, and you'll find out.
Sorry, say the last line again, please. I lost you there for
I
10
said you
seconds.
you have to meet me more to find out more about me.
Definitely. That's definitely something that I intend on doing. You are an inspiration, mashallah. Thank you so much for your time today and for joining us, for contributing to the knowledge economy. Please keep doing so. Before I let you off for the day, I have one last question. What do you think is the utility of forums like CxO Global?
Thank you so much, actually, for having me. And I think there is a huge utility of forums such as CxO Global. The first and foremost thing, of course, is that it connects people. It connects various industries. It connects people from various industries. It provides a knowledge base at times which is not really present, and sometimes we may be working in very small organizations who cannot afford a lot of the um, dollars spent on knowledge. So I think forums actually bring people together and create an environment where a lot of knowledge can be shared, a lot of talk can be had about issues and about nuances within thematic areas, which are extremely important and which may be going missing because we don't have spaces where we sit and talk. So I think this is like a discussion in a drawing room or in an office where it's informal and yet we are sharing ideas. So at least you have that capacity to listen and to absorb some of it. So I think it's one of the best things to have.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Alia, for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me. It's been a pleasure,
Thank
and
you, ladies.
hope to hope
Thank you.
to interact
I think there's
again.
a bit
Thank
of a
you.
lag in the internet. Thank you.
Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching. This has been a wonderful, wonderful interview. We'll see you next time. Please keep us updated with your comments and feedback. We look forward to hearing from them. If you want to learn more about CxO Global, log on to www.cxoforum.global. Thank you so much and happy Valentine's Day to all those that are watching today.
Thank you and bye.